And now we come to Mad Men. Mad Men has really defined a new chapter in my life. And I was actually recommended through two people. One being Alan Taylor, who is a director that I worked with in New York City. I designed his film called Palookaville, and he directed the pilot of Mad Men. And also through the executive producer, Scott Hornbacher, who I knew from my days in New York City. And I'll never forget when I came to my meeting for Mad Men. And of course, I was running late because I'm always late for everything. And the building is quite confusing in Los Angeles, where I had to go meet the creator of the show, Matthew Weiner. And I get on the elevator, I'm probably sweating and rushing and trying to find his office, and I dash into this elevator. I've never been to the studio before, and this man gets on the elevator with me. He's holding a box, and I think like a plant coming over the box, and I see a clock in there, but he's wearing this amazing jacket. And I say to him, "Oh, I love your jacket." And he says to me, "Oh, I love your belt buckle. I have a big belt buckle on that's with a J for Janie." And then he says to me, "Oh, are you Janie?" I said, "Yes, are you Matt?" He said, "Yes, I'm getting ready to meet you right now." So we go up and meet for 2 hours. And we talk about the period and talk about the characters of Mad Men and the show that, he wants it to be. And I talked to him about my love for the late 50s and the early 60s. And anyway, we just have like this amazing creative conversation. And the next day, they hired me for Mad Men. And really, it's so funny to be with you here tonight, to know that, Mad Men has become such a huge thing, not only in America, but really worldwide, because when, I first started designing the show, it was so much our little secret. And all of us who worked on it, the crew and the cast, we knew that it was something so special and that we wanted to share with everybody, but we really had no idea of what a huge success it would be. So it's very exciting for me to be here. And I always think about really what it is that I do as a costume designer. And for me, it is my responsibility to tell the audience and to inform the actors who they are by creating the costume. It is about telling that story of the character through costume design. And I actually really understood the impact of the costume design for a couple of things. One thing happened where the executive producer and creator of the show, Matthew Weiner, called me from San Francisco after the airing of the first season and said, "Janie, you're not going to believe who I just saw walking down the streets of San Francisco." It was Halloween, so people were dressed up in costume. He said, "I just saw a Don Draper and a Pete Campbell. I can't believe this." And then after that, people were getting in touch with me on Facebook saying, "I'm having a Mad Men party for my birthday, and I'm having a Mad Men Christmas party, and I'm having a Mad Men office party." And then fashion designers started creating and being inspired by the show, and we were seeing it on the runway season after season after season. And you know, it's really grown every year. Now I'm going to show you some Mad Men sketches. This is a classic Don Draper. And I always imagine Don Draper as being this mysterious character. Not only is he mysterious to the audience, but he is a mystery to himself. So with each season, you know, we've really seen him do bad things, maybe, but we still love to hate him, right? But in creating the costume and the costume design, for me, it was always about the masculinity of that character. I mean, I was always very influenced by, especially the first season, I was always influenced by Cary Grant and Gregory Peck and the way those men carried themselves, and they dressed and they were so elegant, but it was always done in such a minimal way. And especially, you know, I always imagined Don Draper's suit really being an armor for him, a disguise. So I always wanted to use minimal colors, very masculine, very elegant, very minimal, nothing ostentatious. This is a costume that I designed for Betty Draper in season 2, and it's actually on one of the mannequins tonight. And per the script, at the end of the scene, she gets sick in the car, and so I had to build 3 identical costumes. And I actually really love this dress. This dress was inspired by one of the dresses that my mother wore during this time. And the belt is inset with rhinestones and pearls. It's a very beautiful piece, and you can see it out on one of the mannequins tonight. The yellow dress that Betty Draper wears has really become a iconic symbol of the 1960s housewife. And Matthew Weiner, the creator, and I always talked about what he calls really undressing the cupcake, and I always called it unpeeling the onion of the character. And just knowing that, you know, for a housewife during that time of the early 60s, it was all about the foundation garments of the long line bra, the girdle, the garters, stockings, slips, petticoats, and really creating all of those layers of the costume. But it's also about the complexities of the character as well. And Betty Draper is one of the most complex characters in the show Mad Men. I have a lot of compassion for that character, and also understanding that her actions are from her unhappiness. And I always thought it was an interesting thing that, you know, a woman of that time would really be bound not only physically by her foundations, but by her situation. And Betty's situation is that maybe she could have been a model or successful in the fashion industry, but she chose to be married and to have children and to really be defined by being a housewife and being unhappy by her choices. So I always think about that in terms of her costume design, and always the layers and the complexities of her costume. the color palette of this character has always been very important to me too, because she has always been the immaculate bride and the forever bride, and we really see this even in season 3 with the lace dress that I designed for her while she was pregnant when she first meets Henry. I'll go into that more later. Hold on. First, I'll talk about Joan and her classic silhouette of the sheath. And this is actually a costume that I designed for her when she left Sterling Cooper and went to work at Lord & Taylor. And I wanted her to wear a costume that was not as typical as what she would wear in the office. So I created this